stop being a fucking baby, embrace change, and understand that this could actually be the best thing to happen. The conversation of putting Pattinson in the DCU has been an ongoing thing for the past 2 years, or however long the Batman was out. And at first, everyone, pushed it and brushed it aside because, it wasn't really something that people were taking serious, for the fact that, one, we have a new Superman that is coming out and we don't know how that's going to take place, for what's going to happen there. Secondly, everyone was just waiting on the Batman Part 2 to come out. So that conversation of putting him in the DCU didn't become as prominent till recently. I've seen so many Snyder Bros, extremely invested comic book guys, absolutely spaz out and make it seem like the world is ending with the idea of introducing Pattinson in the DCU. First of all, something like this should never piss you off that much, okay? Like, you guys are over here crying about two notably big characters that we've seen plenty of times together finally conjoin, because how a director's tonal difference is not going to mesh with another director's tonal difference. Like, you guys have to really take your emotions out of this, okay? And just really think logically, okay? The first reason why he's going to be in the DCU is because Warner Bros. Doesn't give a fuck about how you feel, okay? Everybody knows when it comes to corporate and business, money is all that matters. They don't care about how you feel. That's exactly why they did that bullshit with Squid Games and introduced it to Squid Games America, when they could have ended the entire story in the correct way and just leaving it be. But no, corporate America is always going to find a way to juice out entertainment as much as possible to make the most, money, period. That's never going to go away. So why don't you guys think that that's going to happen when it comes to the Batman? As a business, does it make sense to bring in another Batman that has no ties to the community, no background, no story, because of tonal differences? Or does it make sense to creatively integrate the Batman that we all love as of right now, which is Pattinson, into your main universe? Which one is the bigger risk? Just literally answer me that. Like, which one is the bigger risk? Take your how you feel about it out of it, but as a business, which one makes sense and which one would make you the most money? If you have a large audience of people who are not huge comic book people, people that just love the movies, like the reason why Marvel was so successful, which is what Warner Bros. Ultimately is trying to do, was because they were able to bring in another audience of people instead of the fandom of comic book nerds. Period. They got everyone interested into the superhero scene, which is why they filled up seats, and that's what they're looking for. And if you're talking about bringing in two Batman, how is this going to make that easier for these people to enjoy and takes your franchise seriously when they're coming in while they're watching a Batman, seeing another trailer for another Batman? Is that clocking to you?
You're not getting it. It's not clocking to you.
It's not clocking to you. It's just not. So, as a business, this would be catastrophic to try to juggle and make it work long term. The only drawback that the guys at the top, Warner Brothers, are going to be looking at is upsetting a few people because the tonal difference. And you don't think they're going to take that risk and do what's best for their business? Make it make sense, because what pisses me off the most is that you guys don't even look at why it could work. It's like you're not even entertaining the possibility of it actually working out, which is how I know you guys are so close minded and you guys are extremely emotional about this and not thinking straight of what makes sense long term and what the possibility could be with the merger of these two. That's my first point. Tonal differences can be reconciled. Like, there has been many examples of films that have had different tonal scenes and the integration of the two, okay? The one that I'm going to bring up every time is Iron Man, okay? The first Iron Man, no one would have ever thought that he was going to be over here fighting aliens in space, going through multi-dimensional portals and all this other shit that they were able to do and successfully do. No one predicted that from seeing the first Iron Man. You can say it wasn't grounded, whatever, because he's flying and he's in an armored suit, but at the end of the day, that was fairly grounded in the sense that there wasn't any magic, there wasn't any crazy technology that they introduced later on. They were able to slowly integrate Tony's Iron Man into the MCU and all the other characters and made it work seamlessly. So why the fuck couldn't DC do that with Pattinson's? Why not? To anchor that even more, James Gunn is saying that his DCU and all the shows and movies that are going to be coming out are going to have different tonal differences, which is funny because I don't think you guys understand what he's doing here. He's trying to brace you for the fact that the main issue that we have, or you guys have, with Pattinson in the DCU is the tonal differences, and bracing you for the fact that his DCU is going to have that gives him the opportunity to say, "Oh, I mean, I did tell you guys that that it's going to be like this." Okay? Like, it shouldn't be a surprise. I told you that it's going to be an integration of all these different tones into this DCU. So, what makes it different from putting Patterson's in his universe if that's going to be the case anyway? Right? Like, what is the difference there? Tonal differences can work. You just need to be smart with it. Okay? You just need to know how to integrate it where it's not so drastic where you're really looking at it like, what the fuck is going on here? You put it in small bits and pieces to where it makes sense. The third reason is an even more logical issue, which is the production timing. The Batman was released, I don't know, 5 years ago, something like that. It had to be at least 5 years ago. If they're planning to make a new Batman, Reeves just put out his script of the Batman Part 2. In what world does it make sense and producing those movies at the same time? Because no one is going to sit here after Superman just came out and wait another 10 years just for a Justice League. Who the fuck is going to do that? The Batman Brave and the Bold that Gunn has already talked about, they don't even have a script for this, and the director Andrew Muschietti hasn't even talked to Gunn in literally a year. Like, it's all over the place. That whole thing is literally all over the place, and they don't know what they're gonna do with it. They're even talking about changing the name. The mass audience is just not gonna tolerate that. Okay, it's just the whole point of this DCU reboot is to just make things integrated and seamless and not confusing. Marvel has fucked up with this recently with all this multiversal stuff, and it's completely impacted them negatively, right? James Gunn is being smart here, knowing, okay, if I'm going to have my own cinematic universe, I need to make this as simple to the audience and cohesive as possible, because the more confusion, the worse it's going to be long term. No one is trying to do all that. It just doesn't make any sense. One of the biggest things that this really rides on is Superman. And I just saw Superman the other day, and it was good. It was a solid movie. It was good. One thing we don't play into the fact of this movie and how we feel about it is our biases from being so accustomed to Snyder's Superman. We don't talk about that. We've already been so accustomed to DC failing so much that it's kind of diluted how we focus on the film. Like yesterday when I watched Superman, I it was very difficult to not criticize everything that was going on with the movie, and I literally had to be self-aware and see that why am I unconsciously just criticizing every single thing in here when it's like, no, this is actually solid, this is actually good. Superman was a good film, and I have a lot of faith in David Cornsweet to be, the Superman that we all love, right? I mean, he is a more vulnerable Superman, which is a really good thing, and here's the reason why. When you had Henry Cavill Superman, he was just too powerful. Like, even some of the most brutal hits that he got, it didn't even look like it affected him. When a character is too OP, there's not much depth to that character. When they're just too strong and too invincible, there's not much depth and there's not much character development with that specific character. There just can't be, because he's already at peak. And I had to switch my mindset on this, because at first I'm like a vulnerable, weak Superman. Like, that's like how that doesn't make any sense. And by the way, this Superman is not completely weak. You can still see he's strong as fuck, and obviously, but there are ways to weaken him, and that's a great way to introduce character development, because when you have a character that starts off weak and hasn't hit their full potential, when they do, it's going to hit much harder. When they have room to grow, it's going to hit much harder when they come out with other films. So I took that as a positive for this Superman, because sometimes you don't want a character that's too strong. You want someone to develop into their full potential. And this is my reasoning for Battison as well, right? Like, don't you guys want to see him progress into the Batman? The first movie that came out, it was year one. That was his first experience as Batman. So why don't we ride the coattail of seeing a young Batman develop into the Batman we all know and love, into the leader that we know he is, into the badass that we know that he is? Like, why would you not want to see that progression instead of bring some brand new Batman that already has developed that with the whole family and everything? Like, that makes no sense. You're completely nerfing the whole Batman character by doing that. That's something that just irks me, for the fact that you guys can't see and the benefit of putting Battison in the DCU. The tonal differences is actually going to be a good thing, because that dark, gritty, grounded Batman and the bright, happy vibe Superman, that contrast is something that is needed. And if you saw the dynamic in Superman with Clark and Lois, Clark is the optimistic, nothing can go wrong person, while Lois is the more realistic, careful and analytical that balances Clark out, right? And that worked really well in the film. So that's the benefit of having Pattinson in conjunction with Superman, because those two can really play off each other. Batman giving his analytical, serious approach to life, giving that to Superman, while Superman gives Batman hope and just, you know, looking at the brighter side of things. Bringing those two together is going to make the connection a lot more meaningful. This is one of the main reasons why having two Batman is such a fucking bad idea. You're going to completely dilute Batman entirely. If you have Pattinson and bring in a new Batman, if they're both playing at the same time in the DCU, how can you literally vouch for that Batman and take him seriously, knowing that you care about another Batman on the side? Like, that's like saying you got two crushes and there's no way you can like them equally. There's just no way. You're lying if you can say that's the fact. Like, no, nobody has two crushes that they like equally. Either you like one a little bit more or the other a little bit more. Okay? So why would you dilute one of those characters when you can just put all your energy into one? Okay? So it's literally not going to make any sense. You can't force people to have the same type of connection that they had with a previous character. You just can't do that. People already love Battison. The majority of people already love Battison. Okay? You're not going to sit here and tell me that we can have that same type of feeling for another Batman. We're tired of all these Batman. Pattinson is still young enough where he can play Batman for another 10 years. If you introduce another old Batman, how long till you're going to have to reboot the character again? Because eventually you're going to need to put that Batman in the DCU. Give us a quick scenario. There's two Batman. For the people that wanted to keep the Reeves verse separate, what happens after that Reeves Batman is done? Because obviously he's never going to integrate with the DCU and be a part of the Justice League. So obviously the Batman that's going to be integrated in that Justice League is going to have to be the one from the Brave and the Bold, which is a more seasoned old Batman that has a whole Bat family, okay? How long do you think he's going to have to play that Batman character before they need to reboot the character again? If he's already in his late 40s, which in the Batman, the Brave and the Bold, that's what they're looking at. Why would you have that old Batman be a part of the DCU and have him and David Corn Sweat like work? You're gonna literally put off a problem by rebooting and bringing in another Batman. At that point, you're pissing people off by all these changes. You need to think smart right now and think of a long-term solution. If you really want a Batman and Brave and the Bold, okay, with an older and seasoned Batman, simply integrate Pattinson into a story arc where he develops those relationships, has Damien, has a family, has that experience. Pattinson still is young enough to do that. And by the time that's over, he's going to be in that age where it's going to be perfect to have him be as a more of a seasoned Batman and older Superman, because they're going to be aging around the same time. And in the comics, Batman is a little bit older than Superman. Okay, so it's that simple. Patterson is an amazing actor. He has range. If you're talking about an actor that can figure it out and display all the parts of Bruce, it's gonna be Patterson. Like it's gonna be him. He's a really good actor. Like I don't think he gets enough credit, but he is. He's gonna be able to convey the playboyness of Bruce Wayne. He's gonna be able to convey the intellect and all the above. The only thing that's gonna hit it home for Pattinson is his physique. I really don't care if he takes PEDs to get to that point. Okay, like go all in, Patterson. Like get in the gym, take all the PEDs, and get jacked to the point where people are gonna see you as someone that can be intimidating and be able to take on, you know, the characters in the DCU. Okay, become that unit. He's tall enough. He just needs to bulk up and get to the point of okay, he can inflict some damage. And when you have a story arc like his, where we saw how he was in the beginning, the time jump can literally show his development. This one scene right here from the Batman is what got me excited and what even opened my mind up to him joining the DCU before the conversation was even brought up.
But not the one I intended. Vengeance won't change the past. Mine or anyone else's. I have to become more.
He said, I have to become more. He understands that he needs to get better. He needs to develop more and become stronger because his current level is not cutting it. So if he's already has that mindset, why can't we see that that's what he's been doing these several years and come into a completely new Battison that's jacked, that's experienced, that's has all the gadgets, that's done all these things to develop his character since the first Batman that we saw. But I digress. Man, that took some energy out of me, but I had to get that shit off my chest because I'm tired of the Snyder Bros, the diehard Batman fans, and the people that just are completely closed-minded to this happening. Okay? Stop being a fucking baby, embrace change, and understand that this could actually be the best thing to happen. No risk, no reward. This is, I won't deny it. It is a high risk, high reward. It could go absolutely terrible, or it could be the best thing that could happen. And I'm on the optimistic side where I think it's going to be the best thing that they could do for the DCU, where it's going to rival Marvel. It's going to be it's going to be on Marvel's run that they had the past 10 years. Okay? I already know I'm probably going to get attacked by some of you guys here on my view on this, but tell me how you really feel in the comics. Do you agree or not? Are my points valid on this or not? Let me know. With that being said, thank you for watching. Till next time.